Hello. Well, they say life is full of ironies, and what's happened to me this morning, amazing, unexpected. Only yesterday, as part of a video I was doing, I was talking a bit about how to deal with emergencies. It just came in. How to deal with 999, or in the US 111, how to give information when when you suffer with chest pains and things like that. How to do it. How to do it so that you get a quick reaction, and so you get the ambulance sent to you quick, to just get action quick, 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 quick. So I did this video yesterday, and guess what happened this morning? Yes, something happened. Well, for the last 5 days I have been getting chest pains on the right side, moving across to the left. I've been having pains down my left arm and tingling in my fingers. This has been coming and going over 5 days. As well as that, been very exhausted, sort of slightly breathless in when I'm doing the videos, sort of feeling a bit puffed out, and a bit of a dry mouth, right? As well as feeling much, much worse, with I've got chronic ME, chronic fatigue syndrome anyway. And what happened at 6 a.m. this morning, I was up and I was cutting something for guinea pig, a cucumber, with a new little knife that I got, a small little knife. Boy, was that sharp. I don't know if I'd lost my finger because there was so much blood. It's never happened. I have cut myself so many times in my life up with knives, because I'm very clumsy with this illness, and anything, it's just accidents happen. And there was this rush of blood. So I did what you do. I got something with disinfectant on it, wrapped it round tightly, and held my finger like that, pushing down, pressure. I did this, would you believe, for 2.5 hours pressing. And now I'm feeling very ill. I've still got the pains across my chest, and I'm feeling wretched. I need to lie down. But I'm having to press on this, because as soon as I lift my finger, after 2.5 hours, the blood is all over the place. So I'm thinking, do I need stitches? But I'm feeling dreadfully ill, and with the chest pains, and going to casualty, the emergency, I would have to go by taxi, and the whole thing. And is it necessary? Would it be better that I spend another 2 hours pressing on this cut to try and get it to stop bleeding? So I rang here in the UK called 111, right? It's a new system the past couple of years. Now, I am one of the fortunate people that I've always had positive experiences with 111. I have used them a number of times, and it's always been positive and very, very, very good. Very, very, actually, very impressed. And I was telling her all about the cut, going, you have to, a million questions. I felt so silly because all I wanted to know was practical first aid. I've done this for 2.5 hours. Should I continue for another 2.5 hours, or should I go to casualty? So, after ages, every question under the planet I was asked. They have to do it, so it's a system. And then at the end of it, she said, I think you need to go to casualty from all the, questions. I think you're going to need a couple of stitches. Excuse me. I think you're going to need a couple of stitches. She was telling me what I didn't really want to hear, because I was feeling so ill. Not just with the ME, but with these chest pains. And she said, are you able to get there? Somebody take you? I said, well, no, I live on my own. I'll have to get a taxi. And I said, well, the only problem is I know I've got to sit there for hours and on end, and I can't. I'm getting chest pains for the last 5 days, and I don't think I could sit upright in a chair for 4 hours in casualty, accident and emergency, waiting to be seen. I just have to lie down on the floor. I'm feeling so ill with these chest pains. But smart girl, chest pains. She immediately referred me to a paramedic, obviously at HQ, ambulance, headquarters. I spoke to this paramedic. She said, "You've got to go through everything again," but not as bad. And I said, obviously, I don't expect an ambulance for a cut finger. This is not what it's about. I said, I am just, I was telling her about the chest pains. And she said, I am going to send you an ambulance. But she said, obviously, I'm not sending you an ambulance for a cut finger, because if you were okay otherwise, you could just get a taxi. But because of these chest pains, because of your medical history, and because of your family history, I really think we need to get you checked out, and just to see if there might be something else going on. And I'm going to send this ambulance now, and when they arrive, I want you to tell them that I have I've requested that an ambulance be sent to you because of your chest pains. That's why we're sending you the ambulance. Not because you've got a cut finger. We're sending it you because of your symptoms. Chest pains, radiating, left arm, anybody with common sense, it's a wake-up call, right? Something that needs to be checked out. This has happened before, but the pain has been much, much worse. And what's happened is they examine me, they do the blood test, they keep me overnight, and then they discharge me because they can't find anything wrong. They give me pain relief, so they believe me. Oh, they believe that there's pain. They don't doubt the pain because they're giving pain relief. They're not saying, oh, we don't think there's anything the matter with you. Oh, yes, they know there's something the matter with you. You're in pain. And they give you the appropriate medication for chest pain. This is for angina that they're giving you medication. Amyl nitrate. And also Disprin, aspirin. So I'm an old hand of this, so I know what to expect when the ambulance people arrive, everything. So they arrive. It's not an emergency responder because because sometimes they send an emergency responder if the ambulances are all booked up or they're tied up in a complicated case. When it's chest pain, they send an emergency responder. And what the emergency responder always does is to do an ECG. That is the first thing they do, checking your heart. So they come in, they've got nothing with them, no case, nothing, no medical equipment. They don't take my pulse. They don't do the ECG. They don't take my blood pressure. What they simply do is ask me to tell them everything. So I tell them, the reason why you're here today is Paramedic has called you to me because of my chest pains. I told them exactly what I just told you. In this tone of voice and in this manner, right? Everything, the detail. You couldn't get a more coherent, more detailed account from a person, in an emergency situation. I was your dream patient. I was articulate, clear, communicative. You could understand everything. And I said, obviously, I've cut my finger, but the ambulance has not been sent because I cut my finger. This is, I don't expect you to take me to... This is not about the finger. This is because this is resulted from a conversation talking about first aid for my finger. I was just getting first aid advice to deal with a finger that wouldn't stop bleeding after 2.5 hours. And I mentioned about the fact that I'd had a chest pains for 5 days. Arm pains, tingling. And this is why they said they were going to send the ambulance. This is why they sent the ambulance. And you know the response of the paramedic was, what I'm hearing from you, these are his words, is anxiety. Think about it. What person in a 999 or 11 situation would not be showing some signs of anxiety? This is an emergency situation. I've had this for 5 days. I'm on my own. I live on my own. I have severe ME, and it's been going on, and both my parents died from heart attacks. My brother died. Everybody's died. Everybody's died. Both sides of the family from heart attacks and strokes. So you can't blame me if I appear slightly concerned. And he kept repeating it. You're anxious. You're anxious. All I'm hearing from you is anxiety. This is all we are. I said, but I have chest pains coming across. It's radiating down my left arm. There's tingling. You know, this is supposed to be a trained paramedic. Everybody knows, even the members of the public knows, that this would need investigating. And I'm saying I'm a little bit breathless. I've got a dry mouth. Something's not right. It's been going on for 5 days. He said, well, what do you expect me to do? Like that sort of attitude. And I said, why haven't you taken an ECG? This is the usual procedure. You put the electrodes on and you take a heart reading. Immediately. Right? What they should have done, again, I'm disgusted. I am so disgusted with them. It's disgusting. He's asking me, like mocking, what do you expect me to do about it like this? What do you want us to do? I said, well, ECG for a start. I forgot to mention he should have taken my pulse. And obviously take me to hospital. This is why the emergency service has sent you. They've sent you because I need to go to hospital. Right, I'm explaining myself like this to him as I am to you. Do you know what he says again? All I'm hearing from you is anxiety. This is just anxiety. It could be anything, those pains in your left arm and the tingling in your fingers and the chest pain. This is beyond the pale. Is he taking the piss or what? It could be any cardiac problem. It could be any number of things. He's talking like he's a doctor. But everybody in first aid, ordinary people who know nothing about medicine, know chest pains, particularly of a woman like me of 60, radiating left arm, tingling, it's all nothing. Something's not right. Do you know? He says I suppose aren't you going to take me to casualty? No, I am not taking you to casualty. He wouldn't take me to hospital. He refused. I said, I am not asking you to take me to hospital for a cut finger. That would be stupid. I could order a taxi for that if I wanted to get seen at casualty. You wouldn't be sent by the emergency service for a little cut finger. They know it's a little cut finger from trying to cut a little bit of carrot or something. They know that it's just a little cut that won't stop bleeding. They haven't sent you the ambulance. They haven't sent you to me for this. They sent you to me because of chest pains. And I'm repeating over and over and over again the same information. I thought, I am not going to back down on this. I am so not going to back down on this. I'm going to stand my corner. Because this is very, very serious. It might be this, they find out there's nothing and discharge me. But that's a doctor's decision. That is not a paramedic's decision. And he is refusing to take me to emergency, telling me I am anxious. That is his reason. He won't take me. You're just anxious. And I said to him, I challenged him on this. I said, what person in an emergency situation is not anxious. Everybody in an emergency situation, most people show a bit of anxiety, a bit of, you know, it's normal. This is normal. This is not abnormal. This is normal. I said, I know where you're going with this business of anxiety. I knew where he was going. I said, you're going up the psychiatric route. You look sheepish then. There is nothing wrong with me psychiatrically. I am not on any medication for any psychiatric illness. I am perfectly of sound mind and sound mental health. I've only seen my doctor recently and it can be confirmed. There is nothing wrong with me up there. I am not an anxious person. I am not on any medication for anxiety. I'm not on any medication for depression, for anything. Nothing. This has got nothing to do. And then he starts philosophizing. So he's a philosopher as well, the paramedic. Well, I'm not saying that, he's backing down again. Well, what I'm saying is everybody gets anxious. Everybody gets anxious. But we're not taking you to casualty just because you're feeling a bit anxious. I said, I'm not feeling anxious. I might be coming across as anxious. I'm not feeling particularly anxious. I am concerned because I've got chest pains. What part of this doesn't he understand? You understand it. You understand this video. You understand my video, don't you? You know exactly. Oh, yeah. This is going on and on and on. And of course, he's got a little junior paramedic. And this will not be. They always have the junior one, because this is a senior one who's been mouthing off. I've got the junior one, and of course the junior one then supports the senior one. Well, she's got to. She's working with him. Her life would be hell if she disagreed with him. Yes, well, yes, those people do get anxious. Yes. Then suddenly, because of my persistence over and over again, repeating the same information. The emergency people have sent you because this is chest pains. This is a chest pain case. And then it was like he suddenly came recognised, and he suddenly said, the cheeky sod said, you didn't say this at the beginning. You should have said that right at the start. That was the first thing I said as soon as he came into my hall. You have been sent here from the emergency paramedic. She sent you here because I have been complaining and telling her about my chest pains. This. That was the very first thing I tell you. I'm sure you believe me. So he then realises and he's backpedaling, and then he says, "What? We'll take you to casualty." Well, yeah. You want to go to casualty? Okay, we'll take you to casualty. Like it's my request. I haven't requested to go to casualty. I have told 999, 111, the emergency person, all the details of my condition at the moment, my medical history and my family history. And on the basis of that, they said, we need to send an ambulance to get you to casualty to investigate. There might be other things going on. They might want to, You get this, you're all intelligent people. So, again, a terrible thing to do. He's walking me to the ambulance. They're lazy sods. They are so lazy, these paramedics. And I've had this has happened to me before. I've got severe ME. I've got chest pains. I can walk. The question is, should I be walking? He walks me down a long path to the ambulance. The lazy sod, why didn't he go back and get that wheelchair? Lazy. It happened the same thing some years ago. They were dragging me along the pavement to the ambulance service. I was so weak, they were dragging me. That's how bad I was. But I didn't speak up for myself. This is how much I've changed. This is how much I've changed. I'm very pleased with myself. You lazy, lazy buggers. They should have gone. There's two of them. Two fit people. One of them should have gone and got the wheelchair. Come here, put me in the wheelchair and wheel me on, up and on to the ambulance. They had me walking to the ambulance, a long walk. They had me climbing up steep steps, not really properly assisting me. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. So they take my ECG while I am lying down, but they didn't take the blood. They're supposed to take the blood. That didn't happen. They didn't take my pulse. He takes the ECG. He's trying to show that it's a wasted journey. Oh, everything's fine. There's nothing here showing on the ECG. You know, it's like nothing's the matter with you. What does he think? He wants me to get up and walk out of the ambulance. No, I'm not. I'm staying put. I'm staying put. And I arrived at casualty, sort of telling the nurse. And the nurse said, you did the right thing. They sent you the ambulance because that is the procedure for chest pains. You gave all the details, and those details, they have to send the chest. She said they have to bring you to casualty in those conditions. And that paramedic was refusing. He claimed to me then, when he sort of realised he was in a corner, that he hadn't been told it was chest pains. I didn't know. I just thought it was a cut finger. You lie. I don't believe him. I don't believe him. They would have told him. They don't send an ambulance for a little cut finger. They would have told him, this is chest pains. This is chest pains. They have to know. On the way, they tell them on the way over the road, this is chest pains. They should have arrived at the door, really, with a wheelchair. That is, to me, common sense. You're going to somebody suffering from chest pains. You take a wheelchair from the ambulance with you to the front door, and as they're asking the questions, there's two of them. Why wasn't anybody taking my pulse? Nobody took my pulse, and they're supposed to take the pulse. It's supposed to be on the form that they fill in. I know this. The last time I had a situation of trouble with a paramedic in the same emergency 9-9 situation, do you know what the pulse was? I found out when they didn't even give me a copy of the documentation. That's another thing they haven't done. They're supposed to give me a copy of the documentation. The ambulance people are supposed to give me a copy. And on that copy should be stated my respiration rate and my pulse rate. So they haven't even done that. Basics, the basics. This is what you learn when you in the first week of big training to be a paramedic. And what happened last time with the same kind of situation? Do you know what my pulse was? I was quite shocked when I looked at the form. It was 122. My pulse. The pulse itself would be, if you've got a pulse of 122, you do not walk that person to an ambulance. You go and get a wheelchair. But instead they dragged me. They were dragging me. I couldn't walk. That's how bad I was. Because my chest is still hurting, but they couldn't find anything. And of course, because I have ME, I do bruise easily, and I My body's very tender, bruises easily, so anything that's going on inside will be a much worse for somebody like me with that severe ME, because my body's very tender and bruises easily, and anything, it's just like everything gets exacerbated. But they kept telling me in casualty today, you should be here, this is where you should be. So I told them exactly what happened with the paramedic. They couldn't believe it, because they could see how intelligent, how coherent I was, that I was giving them detailed information, just as I am in this video. It's exactly the same. Perhaps I was a bit more angry than I am now. I was more angry. Although I'm angry now, but I was even more angry. But the thing is with me is, when I watch videos of me ranting and raving and getting annoyed, it doesn't seem to show very much. I don't know. I feel that when I'm getting annoyed and angry, that I'm really getting annoyed and angry, but I don't feel when I listen back to it on a video that it comes across as that. It comes across as quite mild. Which is interesting, isn't it? How you perceive yourself. You think you're being aggressive. I feel I'm being aggressive when I assert myself. I always feel I'm being aggressive. But when I watch myself back on the video, I can see I'm not being aggressive. I'm being slightly forceful and passionate, but I'm not actually being unpleasant or nasty or anything. I'm just making my point strongly and very, very well. So they were very, very thorough with me today, exceptionally thorough. I prayed in the ambulance to God. I prayed to God that they would really take me seriously. That's what I prayed to God, that the doctors and everybody would take me seriously, that they wouldn't dismiss me, that they would do everything that was needed to be done, and that they would not discharge me if there was really something the matter. So they do everything, and there's a lot of waiting, lying down, and then suddenly I feel much, much worse. The pain's beginning to increase, and I'm beginning to feel exceptionally very ill. It's not just that it's a degree of pain in my chest. I've had this before when I have these chest pains. It is quite scary, because you just feel you're going to pass out. Even though I was lying down, I feel like I'm going to just... And I felt so wretched. I can't begin to tell you. And I thought, I'm going to have to try and cry out for a nurse, because you're just left there in a cubicle. I have to call out for a nurse, because something's not right here. I'm feeling very odd. It's a very odd feeling. It was very, very odd. And I wasn't feeling anxious. This was it, because I was lying there, I was comfortable. And then suddenly, this feeling very, very ill. Exceptionally ill, exceptionally weak. I'm feeling strange, like I was going to pass out, but I was lying down. And it increasing the pain a little bit. And what's going on? So then I prayed again. And I prayed to God. I prayed to God to deliver me from all evil. I prayed to God to show his mighty power, to demonstrate his mighty power in my body, and to deliver me from this terrible state. It's really weird. And to undo the damage, and to make me well, and to just demonstrate his mighty power, because I know from being a Jewish believer in Jesus for 42 years that God does like to demonstrating his mighty power. And this was confirmed by Rabbi Tovia Singer, who also says there's one thing you should ask of God, never be shy, is ask God to demonstrate his mighty power to help you. and he'll do it because he likes showing his mighty power. And do you know what happened as soon as I said that? This strange odd feeling that I had that I was going to pass out, and really feeling weird, frighteningly weird, something's not right. It suddenly cleared just like that, and then the pain started to recede. It was just within moments of me actually asking God to do that. And I'm talking within a few seconds. It's extraordinary. I thought, isn't this amazing? You see, and I was a Jewish believer in Jesus for 42 years, and after 42 years I re-examined my faith last year, a couple of years ago, and I've renounced Jesus as my saviour. But isn't this amazing? Here I am in a situation like this, and I'm praying to God in casualty like that, asking him to demonstrate his mighty power and to help me and to deliver me from all evil, and to just make his power resonant in my body, the whole of me, and just intervene to sort out what's going on. And then suddenly I began to feel that a little bit better. It's amazing within seconds. And I think this shows you, for Christians who say that God will send me to hell for not believing in Jesus, shows you that God is faithful. Because I have been faithful to God during the 42 years, and in trying to lead a good life to the best of my ability. I know I'm not perfect, and God has been faithful to me, and he helped me, and I could actually feel that change. And I suddenly thought, oh, I feel so much better now. Within a few seconds. I wasn't feeling like I could run around and no. No. I just suddenly felt something had happened, and there was a change, and it suddenly, all that overwhelming feeling of weirdness, and the fact that I felt like, oh, something's not right here. I'm beginning to deteriorate. That God intervened and helped me. So the doctor was very thorough. Very thorough. He took me seriously. He took everything I said seriously. He wasn't being dismissive. Not at all. I told him everything that happened with the paramedic, and he was like, I couldn't believe it. He said, well, it's not for the paramedic to say this. If an ambulance has been sent for chest pains, you've got all these symptoms, you know, he can't be, it's not his place to be saying these things to you. His job is to take you to casualty, for you to be examined. We do all the tests, and then we make the decision what's what. It's not the paramedic. We don't know what's the matter until we do all the tests to find out. So he gave me a thorough examination. They did a chest x-ray, which I was very pleased about. Very pleased about. Because the last time a chest x-ray was ordered, but it wasn't done. This is what it's like. He did a special blood test. The results came back fine. The ECG was fine. They thought there might be a problem with the ECG a little bit, a slight tremor, something was not quite. They were a bit slightly concerned, but they took it again, and then they come back an hour later, and they take it again, and they come back an hour later, and they take it again, and it goes on like this. How many times they took my ECG, I've lost count. But they were satisfied. The ECG was now clear. They were fine, blood test clear. And he said to me, he was honest, he said, it's just like what's happened before, unfortunately. But we've ruled out everything. We've done what we're supposed to do. And he says, if this continues to be a problem for you, in other words, it's starting to happen more and more, then your GP must refer you to see the cardiologist again. And I said, I don't think my GP, I just said, I don't think he'd do that. Again, it's about being taken seriously. I don't feel that my own GP takes me seriously. Every time I see him, I remind him of my history, my family history, and I don't feel that anything I say is resonating, and I don't feel there's any concern, and like, I don't know, sometimes there is and sometimes there isn't. Sometimes there is and sometimes there isn't. It's chops and changes, chops and changes. Sometimes he seems to be, and other times it's... But I have had problems with this particular GP. But you see, if you change your GP, that's not necessarily the answer, because you don't know what you're going to get. And I've tried that, changing the GP, and you can actually end up in a worse situation. I remember going to my GP with my severe ME and just not being able to sleep. It'd been going on for months. I'd been trying. The most terrible insomnia. Begging for help. Do you know what he said to me? What do you expect me to do about it? Like that. That's my GP. So I said, because I'm canny, I've no idea, doctor. That's why I've come to you. You tell me. Do you want sleeping tablets? I said, it's not for me to say what I want. You're the doctor. You have to decide what's best for me. I'm not stupid. He just thinks I've come for sleeping. I haven't come for sleeping tablets. I've come for help. I mean, probably you might be thinking, well, perhaps I should have been referred to a sleep clinic. Well, that's something, isn't it? No. He refuses to do anything to help me. It's continuing for months and months. I'm chronically sick with severe ME for 22 years. It's disgusting. I go back again, begging for help about this problem with the sleep problems. So is there something that could be to try and help in some way? Maybe something. Is there some new treatment or something that might... I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Could he refer me to somebody? Maybe something. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. That's why I go to the doctor. Right? I remember walking into the doctor's room and I said, I'm having difficulty walking. Do you know what he said to me? You walked through the door, didn't you? It's disgusting. It's disgusting to talk to anybody like that. But I do seem to be the kind of the person that people talk like shit to. But I stood my ground today. I stood my ground today. I battled. And I am very proud of myself. And I think it does say in the New Testament, all things work together for God, for good, for those that love God. And I think this has probably been a good thing, you see. I always try and look for the positive. And I think this has been good today because I have asserted myself. I haven't backed down. It's very humiliating being just told, oh, you're just anxious. Oh, you're just anxious. It's terrible. But everybody else who saw me at Casualty was wonderful. But the paramedics these two paramedics were absolutely disgusting. I have had some paramedics who are very good, conscientious. I think he's bloody arrogant. He just came across to me as very, very arrogant. He does know a lot of stuff, but he thinks too much of himself. He's trying to play doctor. And that's what the doctor said in Casualty when I told him everything. I didn't lie. I didn't exaggerate. I just told him exactly what he said. And he said he shouldn't even be saying this to you. It's not his job to diagnose or to be dismissive of just of all of this. It could be anything. So now I have to decide, do I complain? I caught wind of a conversation. I was lying down and I heard this man say, there must have been a private conversation. I heard him say, everyone makes mistakes. And I thought about this and I thought, I've just heard this and I thought, is this, you see, maybe this is part of my Christian living in evangelical Christianity, but the first thing I'm thinking, is this God trying to communicate to me, don't complain about this incident with the paramedic. Everybody makes mistakes. Or not. In other words, I have to make the decision as to be fair to the paramedic. I don't want him to be sacked. I would like him to be reminded. So I have to make a decision about, am I going to complain? Oh, I don't feel well and all the complaining. Oh, it's such a palaver and the complaining and the forms and everything. Or do I just say to myself, like what I heard in Casualty, everybody makes mistakes? And I suppose we could say, well, he made a mistake, you backtrack quickly, or something was going on, but he did eventually agree to taking me to Casualty. But it seemed to be he needed me to say, take me to Casualty. I have worked for the NHS, I've worked as a nurse, psychiatric nurse, I've worked in emergency, all sorts of things in the NHS. I don't get it. I don't understand the system, because it isn't about whether I think I should go to Casualty or not. It's about the fact that I think we need to take you to Casualty. I mean, what's happened to the medicals? What's happened to the National Health Service? Because when I was a child and you were very sick, whether you wanted to go to hospital or not was neither here nor there. You went to hospital. In the old days, when a doctor said, you go to hospital, you go to hospital. If the doctor says, you take those tablets, you took them. In other words, in those days, doctors had a little bit of authority, and you did what the doctor said. Nowadays, it seems to be like, it's all changed. I don't understand it. To me, it doesn't make sense. I can't understand it. That he's been sent and told for chest pains, and then he's refusing to take me because he just thinks I'm anxious. Nothing's the matter. And then I'm repeating and repeating and repeating and insisting and insisting, arguing. Do you know how long this went on for? Must have been half an hour. Fighting my corner. And then he said something like, do you want to go to Casualty? I says, yes, I want to go to Casualty. He says, right, we'll take you. You've said you want to go to Casualty, now we'll take you. It was like he was waiting for me to say that. But I shouldn't have to say to him, take me to Casualty. He's already been sent by 999. He knows already what's the matter. I've already told him what's the matter. He should have said to me, we're going to take you to Casualty. We don't ask me, would you like to go to Casualty? You don't say that to a patient. You say you're going. Old school, you're going. You don't ask a patient. You don't ask somebody bleeding to death. What do you think? What do you think? Would you like to go to Casualty? You don't have to. It's I'm just making a suggestion here. You are bleeding to death, but you don't have to go. This is what it's like in the United Kingdom. You don't have to go if you don't want to. It's all right. You could just say, I don't want to go, and it's all right. I mean, not when I was a child. You went. You're going. Tough. I don't care if you don't want to go to casualty. You're going. You're bleeding to death. Be quiet. Get on that stretcher. You're going to casualty. Because actually there's an awful lot of people need to be spoken to like this and told firmly you are going to casualty. Nowadays here, it's so different in the United Kingdom now. Everybody wants to reason with everybody and sort of persuade everybody. I'm old school. You know, I'm old school traditional. Stay on that bed. Do not get off that bed. If you've got chest pains, stay on that bed. Do not get up. You have to show your personal authority sometimes with some patients and say, do not get off that bed. They're trying to get off that bed. And there's nothing, you know, they do understand. They're just belligerent, difficult buggers who are seriously ill, and you've told them they have to keep still on that bed. You must not move. This is very serious. You must not get off that bed. And they will totally ignore what you just said and try and get off that bed. And nowadays, nurses, they're trying to be all sweet and persuasive. I was old school. I would say, get back in that bed now immediately. I told you. Do not get off that bed. What the hell do you think you're doing? This is what sisters used to do. This is what matrons used to do decades ago in the United Kingdom with patients like this. Ward sisters. You don't. If you watch the Carry On films and you see it's a caricature of strict matrons and strict sisters and staff nurses, but it's not far from reality in the old days in the United Kingdom. Because they had authority and the patient had to learn and respect that authority. You are in bed now. You've got everything attached to you and your job is to cooperate. You are very, very sick and you're told this. This is very sick and you must not get off that bed. If you need to go to the toilet, you ring that bell there. You do not get off the bed. And if patients start getting off that bed, you tell them off. You don't, but you can't do that nowadays. People were complaining, you know, I have my human rights. I have the right to be respected. It's just so stupid. Get back into bed. I couldn't be a nurse now. I just fundamentally disagree with that approach. I mean, you can do it in a jokey way, but you have to be firm with it. There's so many patients, these belligerent patients, and they're endangering and risking their very lives. And you have to be firm with them, and doctors have to be firm. You must take that medication. You know, they don't speak with authority. They don't seem to have. I don't think they realise they have. I don't think they think of themselves as having any authority whatsoever. And I'm not talking about being nasty or unpleasant, but I think it's about being firm but kind. And I think it's a bit like Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins, all the things I'm thinking of. Mary Poppins was very firm with the children, but she was fair. You knew with Mary Poppins, you couldn't mess around with Mary Poppins. If she said do something, you did it. And the children respected her because they knew that she knew exactly what she was doing. She was doing it for their good, and they must cooperate and do what Mary Poppins said because she was looking after them. And if Mary Poppins said you take that medicine, you take it. You don't argue. Say, I'm not taking it. I have the human right not to take this medicine. Oh, it just drives me mad. It's such a crazy United Kingdom, the crazy culture. Human right. I have the everybody's so bloody touchy. Um, and but you can see from my account that the only people I had the problems with were these two paramedics. The 111 service was fantastic. They did everything was fantastic. They did everything. Everything was covered in casualty. Did everything. Um, but as it says in the New Testament, all things work together for good for those that love God. And the thing is with assertiveness, you have to keep practicing it. You have to keep practicing standing up for yourself. I have got a questionnaire from the Department of Work and Pensions I have to fill in. The work capability thingamajig. Right? You all know what I'm talking about. I filled in the basic form. Right? That was the first week. I had a month to fill it in. I am now tackling each question and answering it in detail. So I do it on A4 paper like this. Can you see? I try and do it in my best handwriting. It's nicely laid out, underlined in red. And the reason I go to such trouble, because first of all, the DWP need detailed information and they need it to be clearly presented. I've worked in administration, in personnel, and I know it's very important. The presentation of information, clearly written, legible handwriting, everything in little points, because it makes it much easier for them. They have a very hard job, the DWP, all these forms they're going through. It's a very tiring job. It's a very exhausting job. It's frontline work. I have utmost respect for those that work for the DWP. It is a very pressurised environment they work in. They are under a lot of stress. It's frontline. They get a lot of abuse from the people they're trying to serve to the best of their ability. They're all working to the best ability. Everything on these, each A4 has my full name, it has my national insurance number, it has the question, the part of the question, and so that means it helps the DWP with the form that I filled in to get all the details, so it makes it easy for them and makes their job easy. And the second thing, it works for me because it means that I am telling them everything they need to know. What a lot of people don't realise is the DWP assess you on the basis of the information you give them and how clear you are in the information you give them. Sometimes claimants can be declared fit for work simply because they haven't unfortunately been able to communicate as clearly as they thought they had, probably how ill they are and all the details. And it's all about putting across the details of all your symptoms, of everything in detail. Now, I've done 22 sides of A4. Do you know I will be doing another 22 sides of A4? I know, because I'm used to doing this over 22 years. You will have 44 sides of A4. Detailed, all underlined, for relating to that questionnaire. So everything is detailed. Shit, where's my glasses? Oh no, where's my glasses? I don't know where my glasses are gone. I'm all over the place. I don't know. I think my glasses are broken as well. That's another problem. I don't know. Oh, everything happens at once. Anyway, so it's very, very detailed. I have to tell them everything in detail, explain clearly. But I am already prepared up here. I am already taking it for granted that despite 44 sides of A4, detailed information, clearly presented, coherent, detailed, with all the and all the other paperwork, despite that, there is a strong possibility, a very likelihood that they will say I have a capacity for work. There's also the possibility they might say I'm fit for work. I don't actually think that would happen. It would be very fluky. But, you know, if it happens, I'll deal with it. But it's more than likely after 44 sides of A4 and a complete form, they will say, no, you do have a capacity for work. I'm expecting this to happen. I'm already prepared for it up here. So I'm thinking, how am I going to deal with this already? I haven't even finished this bit. And I'm thinking to myself, if this happens, I will ask for I would ask them for a statement of why they think I have a limited capacity for work, or why they think I'm fit for work. I then have to read all the information that they send, evaluate it, look at the information I've sent them and ask myself a question, really honestly. Have I communicated clearly enough to the DWP all that I need to communicate in order for them to recognise that I don't have a capacity for work? In other words, maybe despite 44 sides of A4, I've missed something and I haven't quite got something across to another human being, and because I haven't quite communicated it as well as I should have done, they misunderstand me and they say, oh, actually we do think you have a capacity for work. And the problem is, what claimants don't realise, they don't take into consideration, is the fact is communicating all the details of your illness. You think you're doing a brilliant job, but the person reading it might not be seeing what you think you're communicating. In other words, you know how you are, but the DWP don't know how you are. All they have in front of them is a form. And they have to make decisions in the light of the information that you and I give them. And if you and I don't quite make it as clear as we should, and sometimes we can be at fault, claimants have to be honest and say, maybe I haven't quite communicated it. I am sick, it's obvious I'm not well enough to work, but I haven't been able to communicate that. And if you can't communicate it clearly enough, then it's unfortunate that the DWP could declare you fit for work or limited capacity for work. It's not always about the fact that you don't meet the criteria, it's the fact that you haven't communicated the fact that you meet the criteria. And so whenever I asked in the past for a reconsideration, and you have to be very, very careful and considerate when you're writing to the DWP. You never insult them, you never slag them off, you never name call them. These are ordinary, nice, decent people, just like you and me, trying to do a job to the best of their ability. They have nothing against you or any claimant. They haven't got a chip on the shoulder against people who are sick or long term. It's not like that. It isn't like that. You will get the odd funny bugger. Every workplace has funny buggers. But you have to recognise these are nice, ordinary, decent people but they do have to follow government regulations. And you have to be very honest with the things and say, have I communicated all my symptoms, all my difficulties, everything clearly enough? And this, I know, will create rage in so many people, me saying this, because I've said it before. It makes people, claimants, very, 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 very angry. But I believe in being fair to people, and I believe in being fair to the DWP. The DWP have made mistakes with my claims over the years. I have been on benefits now for 22 years. And during that time there have been what you might call cock-ups, mistakes, errors, all sorts of things. But the system is so mammoth. It's an incredibly huge system. They are understaffed. They are under-resourced. They are overworked. Like any organisation, the people slip through the net. Mistakes are made, errors of judgment are made, misunderstandings arise. It can't be helped when you have a system as large as the Department of Work and Pensions. And my personal view as a claimant over 22 years, who's had lots of problems with the DWP, lots of going to reconsideration, appealing, the whole thing. I have to say, in my experience of dealing with them face to face, brilliant. 10 out of 10. Really good. No faults. Very, very good. On the telephone, 10 out of 10. Oh, perhaps once I had a bit of a funny bugger. I think he was in a bad mood. It just sounded like he'd got out of bed the wrong way. He was in one of those moods. So, you know, we're talking about 99%. Very good. I think the system is, by and large, considering how large it is, considering how under-resourced it is, consider how pressurised it is, the ordinary people going about the job in the DWP, I think they do a brilliant job. And I would just like somebody to tell them, why are they always being slagged off? It isn't fair, you know, it really isn't. Because most of these people are trying to provide a good service. They are reading forms like mine every day. They know, if anybody knows what awful things are going on in people's lives, the DWP know, because they get the forms and they get all the information. They see the doctor's reports, they see the social work reports, they see everything. They know there's a lot of suffering out there, but their job is to put into practice government regulations. You perhaps will blame Ian Duncan Smith. He is demonised, but you have to remember a lot of the changes that have come about with the benefit system all started with Labour. It started with Labour, not with the Conservative government. It was Labour that started the change. It was Labour who changed the system, not the Conservatives. No, you people that are bashing Ian Duncan Smith and demonising him, it started with Labour. They're the ones that reorganised and started the whole thing. And then what happened? The coalition continued it. They continued it. Obviously they tried to make some improvements because people were complaining about what Labour had started. It was Labour who started it. Lib Dems came into power trying to sort out and to try and improve the cock-ups of this new system that Labour had brought into, right? The biggest mistake Labour made was they were too quick. They were too quick with the whole changing of the whole reorganisation. Far, far, far too quick. They also pandered to lobbyists too much. Sometimes. But it was Labour. If you have a bee in your bonnet about the benefit system and the way it's changed and how deplorable it is, it's not Ian Duncan Smith you should be ranting and raving at. You should have a word with your Labour people as well. And it started with Tony Blair. There was no sign that, what's his name, Miliband, the younger one, Junior, was going to change it. He wasn't interested. It's quite obvious he wasn't interested. He wouldn't have made any. He wouldn't have done anything. He would have done nothing. He wouldn't have made any changes. He wasn't interested in the benefit system at all. That was quite apparent to me. I think his brother, David Miliband, would. If David Miliband were the leader of the Labour Party, I would possibly vote for Labour. I think if David Miliband was leader of the Labour Party, I actually think we could really get the benefit system radically changed again and moved in leaps and bounds to improve it. I genuinely believe it. David Miliband is a very seasoned politician, and I think it's something that he would be passionate about and he would want to tackle it. His brother, no interest. Ed was not interested. That was quite apparent. And so now we have Ian Duncan Smith being demonised all the time. I had a Facebook account and I had a lady that was sending me on a feed pictures. And at first it was very, very funny. The first picture she sent me was David Cameron with a Nazi hat on and a Nazi jacket on and Third Reich and all that. It was just silly. Well, we Brits, we do have a silly sense of humour. And I looked at this picture and you do giggle because it's silly, isn't it? He's dressed up. They're trying to make him look like Adolf Hitler and it's just silly. But this is what Britain excels at. We're very good at just being silly. Right, nobody takes it seriously. It's being daft. It's being stupid. We put moustaches on everybody. We're just stupid like that. And then I laughed. You dismiss it. You just laugh. It's silly. Then the next day I got another one of Ian Duncan Smith, and again they put out the Nazi thing. And again, you chuckle. It's just silly. But then it got nastier and nastier and nastier and nastier. It was just hate, hate, hate. With hate words. Hate, hate, hate. Hate demonising the government, demonising Ian Duncan Smith over and over again. And then I began to listen to Ian Duncan Smith. And I suddenly realised here is a very serious and a very thoughtful man. Because this is how he comes across to me, Ian Duncan Smith, as a very serious, a very, very thoughtful man. Quite deep, quite a lot to him. Whether you agree with him or not about how he's tackling things is not the issue. The issue is, this I could see is a man who knows the effect of long-term unemployment. He's seen it. He saw it in the 70s. He saw it in the 80s. And he knows how important it is for people to work if only for the personal dignity to have a job. He knows how important it is for people to be earning for themselves, to be independent, to have a job. And this is a man who is trying, whether he's making a bad job of it or not, that's not what this talk is about. It's about that here is a man sincerely trying his best to make a system better. Now, a lot of the population disagree with him about the way he's going about things, but if you listen to Ian Duncan Smith, as I've done many times, and I've read articles, what I hear again and again and again is a man who is trying to find a way, a better way than the way that's been going on for decades, right? And in many ways I understand where Ian Duncan Smith is coming from, and I'm speaking as a claimant who could very well be declared fit for work because of all these new rules and things. I don't see in Ian Duncan Smith a demon. I don't see a nasty man. I don't see a vindictive man. I don't see a man. I don't see that. And then all these hate feeds were coming through, and it started to depress me. And I found it was getting me starting to look at people within the Conservative Party as almost as if they are demons. And I'm thinking, this is not right. Something's happening to me here. I feel I'm being brainwashed. And I think this is what was happening with these daily feeds of constantly demonising, hate against David Cameron. Hate. It's the language and the phrasing, and and so little constructive criticism. It's just all demonisation. And I really felt this is not doing me good as a person, because it's going to turn me to hate people. I don't want to hate anybody, but I could feel it was changing me, drip by drip. It's changing me, it's brainwashing me. And this girl that was sending me the feeds, I mean, she was a lovely girl. And in the end I thought, I've got to sever contact with her. I can't be taking these hate feeds anymore. I've got to stop everybody else sending me these hate feeds. They feel so passionately against the benefit systems and all of this, but the hate feeds. And within 24 hours I felt so much better as a person. I felt my mood lifted immediately. I thought I hadn't realised all this hate feed that were coming on my feed wasn't doing me any good. It wasn't doing me any good as a sick person, a chronically sick person, because it was getting me to hate, and it wasn't constructive. And I think you have to be constructive. When you're constructive, I think it's energizing. It's constructive. It brings you to life. Constructive. When you're constructive, like I might have to do a reconsideration. But I just get myself right up here. I'm going to make constructive criticism. I'm not going to insult the DWP. I'm not going to slag them off. I'm not going to swear. I'm not going to be rude to them. I'm going to be polite and courteous. And I'm going to say, and I acknowledge if I've made a mistake, if I haven't communicated correctly to them. If I've made a mistake and I haven't communicated clearly to the DWP, I will tell them. I'll say, this is my fault. I haven't communicated to you exactly what I should have done. But I think this has happened because I'm not well. And because I'm so fatigued and all the rest of it. And I find in my experience with the DWP, talking to them is they're really very nice. And they have helped me. I remember at the beginning of my illness, I needed an emergency payment. Managed to get there, fill all the forms as you do. Was it on the phone? I can't remember. I can't remember this. But that's how ill I was. And they said, you must ring us Wednesday. And we will tell you if the check's ready. And you can come in and collect it. Because that's what people like to do. It's because you get it as quick as possible. Ring us on Wednesday. They've got to process it, everything, it's all got to be done. Ring us Wednesday and I'll just confirm that everything's ready and you can come in and pick up gyro. It's an old word, isn't it, gyro? You don't hear this nowadays. What's a gyro? So, that conversation just went out of my mind. I felt so ill. Went home, waiting for a check. Completely forgotten the instructions she'd given me. And then come Friday, still hadn't arrived in the post. So I rang up and I said, I'm just inquiring about, do I qualify for this payment? And has it been sent? Because it's not arrived in the post yet. She said, well, we've been waiting for you to ring us on Wednesday. And I said, but you didn't tell me to ring you. And she said, I did. Very nice, very gentle. She said, we asked you to ring us on Wednesday. I said, no, I don't think you did. I would have remembered that. Because this is very urgent, I wouldn't forget ringing you. Again, she was very, very gentle. She said to me, that we did. She said, we did tell you to ring us. And I said, but how could I forget something so important as that? And then she said to me, you're very unwell. And when you didn't ring us on Wednesday, we realised because you're not well, something was obviously not right. And so we sent it first class to you. And she said, you should get it within the next couple of days. And then suddenly, I remembered, the memory came back. I remembered that I had been told to ring them. And as soon as I recognised this, I said to her, I'm so sorry. I owe you an apology. I said, I've just remembered what you told me on Wednesday, the other day, to ring you. And I said, I am so sorry. I am so sorry about this. For suggesting that saying you're lying and things. I am so sorry. This is my fault. I said, I don't know what's the matter with me at the moment. I don't know what's the matter with me. I said, I never used to be like this. I had a brilliant memory. I could remember things for other people, and now I cannot remember something so urgent. So you're telling me I must contact you, it's urgent, and I can't remember that. I totally forget. I said, what? I don't know what's the matter with me. And she just said again, you're very, very sick. So I'm getting a little bit choked at that, because that shows you how compassionate she was. You see, that she realised I was very, very sick. You see, she knew I was sick. Another time, income support, I was very sick. I was told I was not entitled to it. And I rang them up and spoke to a senior person, and I said, I am not well. I am so unwell. I can't understand forms because I'm so ill. nothing's resonating. When I'm reading forms and I'm just so ill, I'm in so much pain, and I rely on you to give me the benefits that you say I meet the requirements for. I'm too ill to go. I said I'm too ill to go to the Citizens Advice Bureau. I said I'm bedbound, and I rely on you, and I'm not, so weak. I rely on you to get things right for me because, I wasn't on the internet. I was bedbound, and again she said, I am so sorry. This is our fault. It's our job to make sure that you get the benefits. You gave us all the information correct, and you slipped through the net, and you should have been getting income support. Chronically sick, you should have been getting it. And this is our fault. We have failed you. She said, it's very unfortunate, but you've fallen through the net, and I am so sorry, and please accept my apologies. I am so sorry about this. It does sometimes happen, and it was really sincere. It was really, really sincere. And I think if people on benefits can just remember that there are a lot of people, like the people that I've described to you, working for the DWP, who are not unsympathetic. They're not all hard-hearted. They do want to. They don't want you to deprive you of. They don't want to depriving you of any monies that you as a chronically sick person should be getting. They don't want to deliberately deprive you of something that the regulations say you meet the requirements for. I'm not using the word entitlement because I don't like that word, but they're not. That's not the way they are. I've had so many conversations with people from the DWP. They're just ordinary, nice, decent people, reasonable people who most of the time just want to help you, and they want to sort out problems, and they'll often go out of the way to assist you. But it is their job, and it's a rotten job sometimes, as they've admitted it to me, that they have to put into effect regulations that they personally do not agree with. So it might be that they have to put somebody who they see from a form is really not well for work. They're not stupid, the DWP. They're reading stuff like I'm giving them. They read it all, and they know it's obvious this person is really not well. I've been medically examined by the DWP 5 times. 5 times. 5 different DWP doctors. They know somebody like me is genuine. Somebody like you is genuine. They know that. They've read all these forms. They know it. They know you've been medically examined umpteen times. They know it. They've read all the reports, the detail. But because of government regulation, they have to say, they might have to declare you fit for work. They might have to say you have a limited capacity for work. But in their hearts of hearts, they're thinking this is not right. Has it ever occurred to you that there are people working within the DWP just don't agree? Just like you, they feel some of it is very, very arbitrary, unfair, mean, cruel, totally not on. And you talk to any chronically sick person like me who's been 22 years, and everybody says the old system, the old system for chronically sick people, there was nothing wrong with that old system. Very thorough. Those DWP doctors are very thorough. They are brilliant. And they give you a fair hearing. They give you a fair hearing. They're brilliant listeners. They allow you to speak. They allow you to have your say. Very good with all the doctors at the DW, examined and everything. You do get a few funny buggers, irritable. They tend to be irritable. But the fitness for work, the doctors, 5 out of 5, no problems. No problems. And the decision is by the DWP according to the information. 5 times I've been declared unfit for work. And it's the DWP under the old system that have to make a judgment call which is based on medical evidence. So under the old system, they would have the doctor's report, all the doctor's report, the DWP doctor's report, and in the light of that, they have to make a judgment. The judgment the DWP had to make under the old system is, first of all, is this person fit for work? If they're not, when should we reassess them? The decision when to reassess them is decided by the DWP. Now, if you're getting medical reports for people like me coming back over and over and over and over and over again, unlikelihood return to work, unlikelihood of return to work, chronic, unlikelihood of return to work. They're not going to ask to examine me 2 months later, are they? It's common sense to say, we'll review her in about 3 years' time. Because when you have that consistent, repetitive evidence again and again and again going on for years and years and years, confirmed again and again, for chronically sick people like me and people much worse than me, the DWP, there's no reason to, it makes no sense to go through the whole process 6 months later. Now, the last time I was medically, I had to fill in this form was 2011. So we're talking 4 or 5 years. That's not unreasonable. That's quite reasonable, I think. I think that's perfectly reasonable for the DWP to send me a form now, after 4 or 5 years, to reassess me. I don't think there's anything wrong in them asking me to do this. I think it's perfectly legitimate and reasonable. I think it's perfectly legitimate and reasonable for them to ask for me to be medically examined and to go through all that. But what's changed is the criteria. And under the old system, it is more than likely, the way I am now, is I'd just probably be declared, well, no, I'm sorry, it's still the same. There's no improvement. It's just the same. But because of the goalposts have changed, for people like me, they might find a little... Can you press your nose? Can you press your mouth? Can you press your nose? Oh, she can press her nose. We'll put her back to work. She's got some capacity for work. She just pressed her nose. What could we give her to do? Let's find something for her to do. She can press her nose with her finger. Isn't it stupid? That's stupid. So I've gone on again. I do talk a lot. 1 hour 29 minutes. I always tell people I'm a quiet person, but I am quiet. But once I start talking, you can't shut me up. And so I think I'll probably ring up the DWP. I won't go. I'm going to ask for another week or two to continue filling in another 222 pages. I've still it's hurting my chest and that. And what I'm doing, I've divided up. I'm doing a little bit each day of this form. This is the way I tackle it, is I break it down over 28 days, and I do 20 minutes, I do about 20 minutes writing, and my hand is in excruciating pain, and then I lie down for an hour to recover from that 20 minutes writing, and then I go back and do another 20 minutes, and that's it for the day. And then the next day I try and do the same. This is the way I fill in a DWP form, and I find it works, except this time, and I think this is because of the chest pains I've been getting the past 5 days. I'm just feeling a bit not so great the last couple of weeks, just feeling. But if they stop my benefits, they stop my benefits. I'm not actually worried about that, because I've been through all of this before. If they stop my benefits, then I have to write another letter to explain the circumstances again, despite that I've already written once, but I write again. Send it recorded delivery again, that's another thing. And then it might take a couple of weeks for the money to go in. But because I am so used to cock-ups and things happening, I always have what I call emergency money available, set aside from my benefit, that I don't touch. And I have money set aside, I've saved money from a benefit deliberately for, I don't mean to criticise the DWB, cock-ups, mistakes, errors, misunderstandings. So I have, a couple of £100 in the bank, so if anything happens like what's happening now, there's a misunderstanding. I thought we'd put on the computer that the form was going to be late and that you'd written us, and somehow it hasn't got onto the computer, and the computer doesn't know that we know that you've let us know that the form's going to be late, but the computer doesn't know, and therefore the computer's that's not sent the payment to the bank, and so you haven't got the money, and so we have to put the information to the computer, and we're very sorry about this, but I understand this because I've worked in offices, and I know these things happen. In a very pressurised office, a very busy office, people make errors. People don't go to work deliberately to make mistakes. Nobody wants to make errors. You don't want to make errors at work. The DWP certainly don't want to make errors. They don't want me going to tribunal and then they're being shown up for doing a bad job. They want to do a good job because they don't want people going to the DWP and then the DWP being shown up by the tribunal and say, well, look, this is obvious, you should be this and it should be that, you see. So the DWP, out of pride, they take a pride in their work. They want to make sure that before it goes to tribunal, that they have really scrutinised the claim to make sure that the judgment has been correct by the adjudication officer. Because it's very humiliating for the adjudication officer to have a tribunal overturn their decision. Can you imagine being an adjudication officer for the DWP? You're doing the job to the best of your ability. You're working with other colleagues and then you're shown up by a tribunal. Oh, should the tribunal show so-and-so's got shown up? It's very, I feel sorry for them. Because I've worked in offices. Can you imagine being told off by your boss? Yes, the tribunal have said that you were wrong in this. You've made a mistake here, adjudication officer. It's not very nice for them, is it? We don't. Nobody likes being told off. Nobody likes to be told you made a mistake. So you have to be very careful in your wording when you are writing a letter to the adjudication officer for an appeal for reconsideration. You mustn't patronise them or talk to them like they're idiots. They're not idiots. You, the British public, keep going on. You want to be treated with respect. Well, stop saying nasty things all the time about the DWP. Why are you demonising Ian Duncan-Smith all the time? You're not treating him with much respect, are you? At all, nothing. By all means disagree with him, but make constructive criticism. But don't demonise him. Don't call him all the names under the sun. Don't take photographs of him when after a hard day's work and he's tired and he's looking a bit grumpy. He's probably had one of those days. If he's looking like that, if he's looking like me, he's probably had a hell of a day. Like you had a hell of a day. We all have bad days. He's had a bad day at work. And he comes out looking a bit grumpy. And you take a photograph of him, and everybody's mocking and ridiculing him and demonising him, saying how evil he is, saying he looks evil. The poor fella's just been working. He's tired. It's 5 o'clock. He's had a long day. Right? And you can't even make constructive criticism. And you go on about your human rights and you want to be treated with dignity and spoken to with dignity. You demand this from everybody. But you insult and you demonise a man like that. Constantly. I know politicians have to be tough to take a lot of flack. I know that. But I do feel that it's sometimes the British public need to be put in their place and given, told to cut it out. Cut it out. Cut it out. Stop being so moral, taking the moral high ground all the time. And stop demonising him, because causing sick people to hate is doing nothing for our health. To cause me to hate anybody is not doing my health any good, right? You get annoyed, you get exasperated, you strongly disagree, you're peeved. You're annoyed like I'm annoyed about the paramedic. But you don't go relentlessly demonising people. And that's why at the beginning I said I was having to decide whether to make a complaint against this paramedic, because I want to be fair to him. I'm not happy about the way he treated me and his behaviour. But I don't want him to lose his job. I don't want to make life hell for him. And I don't hate him. Maybe he'll go away and reflect on what I've said, because I did hold my ground for that long time, for half an hour. I probably won't complain, knowing me, I probably won't complain. Because already I feel myself mellowing. I don't want him. I don't want him to suffer in any way, because I don't want to be spiteful or anything. I don't want to be spiteful. I've let off steam. I've told him exactly what I thought and everything, which I don't regret, obviously. And he obviously probably is very knowledgeable. He just needs to be straightened out in a few things, you see. Whether that will happen, I don't know, but I don't think I'll complain. I'll be very surprised. I'm very surprised. Because often I do kind of get very annoyed. It's like my bark's worse than my bite, I think. I get very annoyed with people, and then I thought, oh, bother. And then I apologise. Because I suppose I want to be at peace with everybody. And I don't want to be spiteful, and I don't want to get my own back. I don't want to get my own back with anybody. I don't want to get my own back. All I want is for him not to do that again with somebody else. Because somebody else might not have the persistence and the courage and the confidence and the bloody mindedness to stand up to him. And it could be a lot more serious than how I was. And it could be, you know, much more serious next time. And that's all I want him to know. That's all I want him to know, is to reflect. Anyway, I've talked for 1 hour 41 minutes. And I'm going to stop this now. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you found this constructive and useful, and given you an insight into the health system, the good things, the bad things, and I thank you for listening.